Hello, everyone. A huge welcome to our exclusive live stream, Careers in AI at Google, Impact, Innovation, and Inspiration. I'm Jhoom Choudhary, a technical recruiter at Google, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be your host today. We have brought together three phenomenal leaders who are working at a very forefront of AI in widely different and impactful spaces within Google. Today, we'll talk about the scale, the challenges, and the incredible careers available within AI/ML domain. We want you to walk away feeling absolutely thrilled and having a crystal clear understanding of day-to-day reality of our work. Please welcome Bhargava, Nagaraj, and Raghava. For our audiences, could you please introduce yourselves and what do you do at Google?
Hi, my name is Bhargava. I'm an engineering leader with YouTube. I'm focused on enabling YouTube creator productivity at scale using AI.
I'm Nagaraj Kota. I'm part of the Platform and Devices org. I lead the agentic efforts on Gemini for Home.
I'm Raghava. I lead the Translate engineering team in India, and our mission is to solve language barriers using cutting-edge ML. I'm very glad to be a part of this panel.
Thank you so much. So let's start with an icebreaker question. In a single sentence, what's the most critical and bold problem that your team is solving with AI right now that has a potential to help a lot of users at scale? Bhargava.
Thank you, Zoom. So, like I said, I work for YouTube, and at YouTube, I'm focused on enabling creator productivity. So, we are creating hyper-personalized, real-time support, inspiration, analytics, and performance-related questions, all in a one-stop shop where creators can come in, get the support that they need. The whole goal is that we free up their mind space and time to do the stuff that they enjoy doing, they're good at doing, which is creating content. Leave the rest, mundane, running the business stuff to us, we'll take care of it. And we do that with AI.
Perfect. Nagaraj.
My team is building, Gemini for Home. It's a home agent that takes care of people inside it, right? So in that, we need to understand home context more proactively, multimodal. We need to sort of listen what speaker sort of, captures. We need to also understand what the camera sees, and along with like many other devices in the home, we sort of understand what is really happening in your home and try to understand that and act on behalf of that to take some actions to the users, right? So that's essentially what, my team is sort of building. It's a very sort of responsible work because we're taking actions on behalf of the user in their home. So you have to be absolutely high quality bar and responsible in this space.
Lovely. Raghava.
Yeah. Historically, Google Translate has been at the forefront of AI. And in fact, the epic transformer paper was created to solve machine translation as the main use case. Having said that, just a couple of months ago, we launched a new 0 to 1 product for language learning. And we've been actively working on solving a bunch of speech-related problems in the last few months to ensure that our users have a very delightful language learning experience. Yeah.
Thank you for painting that picture of global impact. It's truly inspiring to see how your teams are transforming from complex challenges into impactful solutions. Moving on, Nagaraj, my question is to you. Your team is developing advanced intelligent systems using products like Gemini for Home. And I know our audience is mostly experienced software engineers and engineering managers. Would love to hear this. What does the day-to-day engineering processes look like when building, iterating, and deploying such a large end-to-end multi-AI features?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a common question that we also get in many of our SWE rounds also, right? So my team pretty much composed of ML SWEs, sort of talk through like how does this sort of day-to-day ML SWE operates in this environment, right? So yeah, so broadly, it's about the context engineering. I mean, that is like the major role that an engineer would play these days, right? So it's essentially about building tools and APIs that is relevant for this particular home domain. That is like one significant portion of the work. And that would include like, prompts, or it would include basically bringing your own sort of data context from various sources, make sure, okay, we have the relevant context for the agent, right? And then the second part is, which is the agent reasoning itself, where we sort of build on top of the foundational Gemini checkpoints and sort of adopt how to sort of think through, in this particular context, orchestrating the relevant tools and so on, right? So to take the actions in the home. Then the third part is about, these are like generic capabilities, but we do also need to understand like a specific capabilities within the home. For example, glass breaking sounds, baby crying, baby cooing, because all of these are like very important context that we need to consider while taking actions also, right? And then, then we have to build the capability for a particular CUJ, what we call customer user journey. We want to test it. So we have like a robust evaluation framework where essentially we go through all of these end-to-end evaluations to see, okay, do we meet the quality? Do we meet the quality bar in terms of safety, in terms of, how it impacts the user if we were to roll out in the production? So that is like the sort of what we call as evals internally. And then when it's the rollout, it's basically like a launched phase, like launch experiments is what we call internally in Google. 1%, 2%, 10%, and so on, and sort of track how is it performing in the real world. And we also learn some feedback from the user, maybe something that we have not thought through in the early phases of this product. Maybe, for an example, okay, how do I sort of optimize my energy usage during the very high peak time in the day, right? So maybe something that we not thought through in our data context or, the training recipes for these models, we go back and iterate. And this is like a continuous loop that we, continuously, worked over.
Thank you, Nagaraj. That process loop that you talked about, from building custom tools to synthetic evaluation to real world feedback, absolutely fascinating. My question is to Bhargava. You deal with enormous scale on YouTube. What is the one core platform component or a foundational, let's say capability at Google that you rely on? And why is Google's core platform such a critical differentiator for your work?
Yeah, that's a great question. We use foundational Gemini models behind the scenes, of course. But, specifically to your question, what's the one thing that differentiates Google? It's our proprietary TPU infrastructure combined with our ML serving pipeline. These things enable us to release cutting edge models, LLM models, to billions of people at scale very easily. And we can provide hyper-personalized solutions to people all over the world in many different languages. Scale and reliability is something that Google is known for. That's in our DNA. And over many years, Google has built up a whole set of tools which help us achieve that scale. We are at planet scale, and without the tools and infrastructure that Google has, it wouldn't be possible to be that way.
Thanks, Bhargava. It's clear that infrastructure here is a true superpower. I'll move to Raghava. Your work with Google Translate involves building on deep ML research for products that are being used worldwide and every day. So what is the journey of productionizing and then launching research ML ideas for such a large user base?
Absolutely. Happy to demystify this. Firstly, it's been a great privilege and a matter of pride for us to collaborate with the research team, primarily because it has some of the best minds in the industry as a whole. And just to set context on how the research team is structured, our research team directly reports into the Translate engineering org. And so essentially that means they have two main objectives. One is to continue to push the envelope on state of the art, or what we call SOTA, for the industry as a whole, and then at the same time create meaningful impact for the end users. And typically the research team in any org keeps publishing new ideas all the time, but not all ideas are ready for production. For example, on quantum computing, there are some significant breakthroughs in all the labs, but then they're not ready for prime time yet. Same thing happens within the Translate world. Now, the way we work is the research team keeps sharing a lot of new possibilities and ideas, but then there's a healthy debate and discussion between the research team and the platform and the product teams to shortlist a set of ideas that we collectively think can create the maximum impact for our end users. And then once we create that subset of ideas, then we run some experiments on those ideas, and what Nagaraj spoke about as like live experiments, that's exactly what we do as well. And then we launch them for like a subset of our users to see how the user response is. And then based on how the metrics look like, we shortlist the more promising ideas from that, even like break it down even further. And then that's when we assemble the experts from within the team across data, evals, modeling, security, and serving, and so on. And then collectively, we assess what the right trade-offs will be across a bunch of parameters like cost, performance, quality, security, and so on. And then we identify a path to take those ideas into production. And we create a roadmap for ourselves. And then as we are ready on that roadmap, then we get to a go, no go stage. And then if the ideas are like a go, then we kind of prepare to launch those ideas to the actual end users, initially starting with a smaller traffic and then subsequently roll it out to the full traffic. And that's how a research idea comes live and impacts the real users.
Yeah, thank you, Raghava. It's fascinating to see how you move from sort of ideas to production using the user traffic segmentation to validate the key matrices before the actual global rollout. All right, moving from the technical depth to career growth, I want to talk about how we grow our AI ML talent. Nagaraj, to you. You have a brilliant team of individual contributors and engineering managers. Could you please walk us through the scope and the impact, specifically detailing out the difference between the experienced individual contributors as compared to engineers who just started out their career in the AI/ML domain?
Yeah. I think it's a key question. I think it also sort of maps to how career progression happens at Google for, every sort of engineers, right? So let's dive in, I think, into maybe 3 segments. One could be like about problem definition, and there could be about influence, and the third could be about, the expertise between these sort of experienced ICs and, people who are just starting their career in AI, right? On the problem definition side, an experienced IC would sort of talk to cross-functional peers, partners to figure out the what and the whys of the problems, where okay, if I were to solve this problem, it is going to impact user in this meaningful way and so on. So essentially sort of question the work itself and how does it sort of land and how does it impact the user. That is like the sort of attributes that experienced IC would focus on, versus let's say in a early career person would sort of start with basically a well-defined problem statement. They would just go dive in deep into it and sort of really solve the problem, right? So, and that's essentially what speaks about the contribution and the challenge aspects of it. The second part about the influence, an experienced IC would sort of figure out the connecting the dots, like I said in the earliest part, where they'll have to sort of talk to their peers, cross-functional partners, product managers, and really figure out, okay, this is going to sort of be a long-term sort of path to sort of, there's a connection to a problem to actually the impact, right? So versus, and it's actually also about the driving the team outcome rather than just the project outcome. So that's essentially also an experienced IC would sort of look after. Coming to the third, dimensions about the expertise, right? So an experienced IC would sort of figure out an end-to-end system view about how to get things done and how does it connect to like a much long-term sort of a view about, in general, a problem scope, right? Versus an early career IC would sort of focus on like a specific component, build expertise in that, and sort of grow their career sort of towards the sort of more technical leader and like strategist and so on. So if I were to summarize the expertise domain, it would be more about, being an excellent implementer to a technical leader to a strategist.
Thank you, Nagaraj. It's a very clear way to frame the shift from execution to definition. I move to Raghava. You've successfully led teams for years now. For engineers considering the engineering manager path within AI/ML domain, what is the most critical skill or perspective shift that you would require for a transition from the personal contribution to leading a larger mission?
Absolutely. I think we all have undergone that journey and happy to share more about that. The key perspective shift needed for somebody exploring the ML EM path would be to think of themselves as a force multiplier for their team. And for the team is the key operative word here, right? And I'll break it down into maybe a few steps. Regardless of whether it is for the ML space or other spaces, a few fundamental things need to happen for somebody to get into an EM kind of a role, right? One is they need to build a kind of a highly passionate and a team with high ownership. And then they need to ensure the team has the right charter, a good collaboration model with all the cross-functional partners. And then the EM also needs to think more at a system level, something that Nagaraj also spoke about. Whether it is an IC or an EM, the perspective needs to widen to more at a system and a solution level versus a more smaller kind of a level. And they also need to be cultural ambassadors and career coaches for their team. Like, these are all things that are needed for anyone to consider like an EM role, regardless of ML or non-ML domains. But some specific nuances apply to the ML domain. First thing is, I think they themselves need to be abreast of the latest developments within the industry, because things keep changing so rapidly. And it'll help them in multiple ways. Firstly, they can ensure that the team is considering the right methods and trade-offs as they are solving the various problems. It will also ensure that the EM is appreciative of the complexity of the problems that their engineers are solving. And thirdly, when there are technical conflicts, I think the EM can weigh in and then unblock the team and then solve the conflict and then ensure the team moves ahead with the solution. This is on one part. The second part also is going to be on talent engagement as a whole. If they're appreciative of the complexity and the challenges that the team is focusing on and solving, I think the team respects them a lot more, number one. And then it's also important for an EM to understand the aspirations and interests of every individual in the team and then balance it with what the business and the user problems are. And then if they're able to strike a fine balance across these dimensions, I think the team will succeed and the EM also will succeed greatly. So those are my perspectives.
Thank you, Raghava. That's very insightful advice for our aspiring leaders. Finally, I'll move to Bhargava. This field demands constant learning, and maintaining balance is crucial. So how does Google foster a culture of continuous learning and reskilling while actively supporting the work-life flexibilities and the well-being of our AI engineers?
Oh, that's a really important question. So the AI world is moving really, really fast, and maintaining the balance is extremely important. So Google looks at it in two ways. One is, upskilling and promoting and supporting the engineers to do the best work they can, and the other one is to take care of their well-being. So two axes that go together. On the upskilling and promoting our engineers to learn to do better work, we have a whole plethora of things available to us. There are training programs, there are subscriptions to books and other online trainings. We have access to hundreds of world-class data scientists. You can work on a project that's outside your own project 20% of your time, learn new skills. But most importantly, I think when you work with some of the smartest minds in the industry, you grow yourself naturally. I think that would be the most important. When it comes to well-being, Google promotes flexibility. Our culture looks at outcomes versus effort. In this flexible culture, as long as you deliver, we are happy. And there are also a lot of support programs for your physical and mental well-being. So that's how we balance.
Thank you, Bhargava. Those are excellent points on sustainability in such a demanding field. All right, for our final questions, let's talk about getting hired. And this is to all the panelists. What is the one non-technical trait or an insight that you would look for in a candidate during the interview process that tells you this person has a right mindset for Google's collaborative and fast-paced AI environment? Raghava.
Sure. So I would look at learnability and first principles thinking, and I'll share why. I think the industry is witnessing a pace of change that we have never witnessed anytime in the past, and user expectations are also changing so rapidly. And so ideas that might not have worked in the past or might have worked in the past might not work anymore or might actually work in the future. And so it's very important for everyone to think first principles, understand the business and the user problem, and then revisit expectations from time to time. That is from a first principles thinking standpoint. And even from a technology standpoint, things are evolving so rapidly. And so there are newer methods being published all the time. And it's very important for the engineers to understand what the new methods are and apply them appropriately within their respective spaces. And yeah, I think that's why I would recommend both these as key traits that I would look for.
Bhargava.
Yeah, plus one to whatever Raghava said. I think in addition to what he said, I look for people who are able to work with a wide variety of stakeholders, project managers, program managers, product managers, user experience designers, and so on. And just again emphasizing the learnability that Raghava spoke about. This industry is moving really, really fast. So you have to have a hunger to learn, and you have to have the mindset to be able to adapt to changes quickly. As long as we see that in you, you're a good fit.
Nagaraj?
Yeah, I think building upon the adaptability, right? I think at Google, you have basically 0 to 1 startup like culture, environment, and also like very stable, decades of old products, but reimagining the AI and sort of pushing the boundaries also, right? So you have to sort of operate in extremes of this space and in a very responsible engineering practices. So that's how adaptability also important. And I would also sort of touch upon the Google values, how, let's say, candidates have done in their prior sort of expertise or in their experiences, right? So that would be about, respecting the users, respecting the opportunities, and respecting each other, because at the end of the day, we care for like team outcomes and all outcomes and not individual outcomes. And essentially, that's what I'd like to see some evidence when they interview.
Thank you so much for sharing such invaluable tips, for our audience, especially on the essential technical mindset, the need for continuous growing, and the importance of the, outcome-driven approach in the AI/ML domain. All right, perfect. So to wrap up, let's give everyone a single final thought about careers in AI/ML, and you want them to take away, feeling absolutely inspired by.
Yeah, thank you. We are living the smartphone moment, so to say, in AI. Every sphere of life, every human interaction, every interaction that you have with technology, every job will be influenced by AI. At Google, we're making it happen. We are not watching it happen. So you have this great opportunity. We have this confluence of planet scale, billions of people using our products, cutting edge AI technology coming together. So my advice to people is, don't chase the next algorithm. Be part of the team that's actually building it. It's not a job. It's almost like a legacy that you leave behind.
Nice. Nagaraj?
Yeah, I think in my times at Google, I've seen innovations in AI happening across product areas, right? And to give some examples, Gemini is like the, beating all of the benchmarks out there, learning that sort of data recipes, training recipes, and, how each of the product areas are adopting Gemini in various ways. I think that is like a, great learning experience altogether, right? So, and I've seen basically, engineers bottom up thinking through these ideas and sort of how provides a responsible framework to sort of execute and put these features out there in front of the user. I think that is like a very rewarding sort of an experience, right? And I'd like to sort of look forward to see you join us on this journey as well.
Brilliant. Raghava?
Sure. Big plus one to what Nagaraj and Bhargava mentioned, but we all know that AI is a generational technology, and Google has been shaping up this technology over many years already. And we also put it to very good use to solve some of the biggest problems that humanity faces, be it in healthcare or agriculture or breaking language barriers and many other industries as a whole. And the best part is we do it with great responsibility. I'm so proud and privileged to be a part of this rocket ship and would love to welcome you all aboard.
This is so inspiring. Such lovely thoughts. Thank you so much for framing this as a smartphone, moment for Gen AI. And it's clear that the, exciting rocket ship mandate requires achieving execution velocity while responsibly leveraging this generational technology. So I think we are on time. A huge thank you to all our brilliant speakers and all of you in the audience for joining the discussion today. We encourage you to take the next step, check out our open roles, and apply today.